Do you have a little one that's struggling to sleep at daycare, or you're worried about your entry to daycare and looking for some tips? You're in the right place. Hey there, everyone. I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'm a chiropractor by training, but really found my passion empowering parents to teach their little ones to sleep and parent confidently day and night as a sleep and parenting consultant. And today we're going to talk about some of the challenges that some people meet when they start going to daycare. So it kind of depends on when your little one is going to daycare because their age makes a big difference. Very commonly, parents are heading back to work around 3 months of age. And, your little one will likely still be swaddled. That alone can be a challenge. So when you're looking for daycares, you want to ask them, are they able to still swaddle my baby? Most of them are, but every now and again I come across someone who reports that, oh my gosh, they won't let me swaddle a baby, and the sleep is disastrous because the little ones don't yet have good hand control and they end up waking themselves up with their hands. The other thing about daycare at this age, and every age really, is how dark can they make it? Often they have, newborns to, a year in the same room, and those kids will have wildly different schedules from child to child. So you want to be asking your center, how often are they going down for naps? Does everyone have the same napping schedule? What does that look like? Because ideally everyone does not have the same napping schedule because kids will vary from child to child. One, depending on when they woke up in the morning, how much they woke up at night, that'll influence when their nap time will be during the day. And so rigid schedules in these early months can be kind of hard on little people in general. In addition, a lot of centers, you want to ask them, how do they know when it's nap time? So if they're not on a rigid schedule, you want to ask them about a flexible, which is what we teach in the Helping Babies Sleep method. The idea that each child has certain windows by month of age that works best for them to stay awake between naps. So for example, a 3-month-old can really comfortably stay awake about an hour and a half before they're ready to go down again. And if you miss that window, they tend to become a little cranky and often harder to get down and then harder to get them to stay asleep. So awake windows are important to keep your little one well rested. Okay. Then there's your little one's sensitivity to light and noise. I often work with parents who say, I don't want to make the room dark because I don't want them to be dependent on that to have to sleep. Here's the thing. How sensitive your little one is to light and noise is really something they're born with. It's not something that you can train them out of. It's a need, just like yourself. Can you sleep well in a room that's well lit, or do you need it to be dark? It's just kind of a personal preference. The purpose of blackout curtains with our kids is minimizing visual distractions that might distract them from being able to drift off into sleep. The same goes for white noise. Sure, the first month of age, maybe white noise is really helpful to recreate conditions of the room. But as they're getting older and more aware of their surroundings, the purpose of white noise in my world is to drown out household noise that might prevent them or distract them from falling asleep. I don't think it's the thing that makes them sleep, but sure, it could drown out that barking dog or that garbage truck going down the street. So, what can your daycare do for you, especially if you have kids on different napping schedules while you're there? Can they have white noise to drown out the sounds of other children? Can they make it dark during nap time? The other purpose of making it dark during nap time in those first few early months is it does help entrain your circadian rhythm to mature more quickly. It doesn't fully mature until about 6 months of age. Okay? The other challenge that can happen at nap time is you may notice that your naps are not as long, and there can be a few reasons for that. There's surface reasons that we kind of talked about, environmental, but then there can be root reasons. So for example, if you're holding your little one for nap at home and you can get an hour and a half stretch, well, that's going to be tricky for daycare to reproduce because they only have a certain number of manpower. So someone can't necessarily hold your child the entire time. And what you may find is you're starting to encounter 30-minute naps. So your baby wakes up at 30 minutes and they don't put them back to sleep. This can lead to a very overtired baby. So some of my clients report that, we were doing okay with naps at home in the carrier or on us, but now we're going to daycare and my child's only getting 30-minute naps. And they're only napping for an hour and a half the entire time they're at daycare. And what happens is they come home exhausted. And parents are often really afraid of having an early bedtime because they're afraid their little ones are going to wake up earlier in the day. But if this is happening to you or your child is just not napping enough at daycare, I want you to think that you need more nighttime sleep to recoup some of that lost daytime sleep, and do not worry about early bedtime. 6 o'clock is not too early if this is your situation. You may have to do a few more night feeds to get the needed calories in for the day, but don't be afraid of, they're going to wake up at 4 o'clock because they went to bed at 6 o'clock. In general, most kids 3 months and older need about 11 to 12 hours of overnight sleep. And if they're losing some in the daytime, then we will tack that on. Think of the early bedtime as like moving that lost nap hour and tacking it on top to the early bedtime. At 4 months, most babies still need 4 naps, and often that 4th nap might fall in the car on the way home, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's usually a cat nap anyway. It might be 30 to 40 minutes. If it's shorter, that's okay too. And then they're going down again and probably close to an hour and a half, but somewhere around 7:30 at the latest at that age. Overall, what are some signs that your daycare schedule just isn't working for you? It would be starting to have night wakings when previously your baby was sleeping pretty well through the night. So night wakings that are not related to either teething or any kind of motor leaps such as rolling or starting to hover on all fours. It's related to overtiredness because your child's not napping enough during the day. Another sign it's not working for you is that your child is so exhausted when they get home you can't even get food into them because they just want to fall asleep right away. Those are kind of red flags. Daycare does get easier, I feel, around like 5.5, 6 months when most kids transition down to a 3-nap schedule. Your circadian rhythm really matures around that age. And so that's when we see much more common napping patterns from child to child. Usually in the 3 to 4 month time, kids are on wildly different nap schedules. Nap length can vary significantly child to child. In general, in 3 months, we're looking for about 4 to 6 hours of nap time. Around 4 months, that's 3 to 4 hours. Same for 5 months. And then around 6 months, your child's rate of growth is going to slow down a little bit. And so their nap needs are going to drop off a little bit too. They only need about 2 to 3 hours of daily nap per day. The other challenge I see with daycare is usually actually around 12 months of age, when often there's a baby room and then a toddler room. The toddler room tends to only have 1 nap of a day. In general, though, most kids need 2 naps until somewhere around 15 months of age. And I've yet to see somebody who transitioned really successfully and smoothly to 1 nap at 12 months of age. I'm sure you're out there somewhere, but I wouldn't say it's very common, okay? And what is a sign that that 1 nap schedule isn't working for you? Well, it would be that you are waking up at night or you're waking up at 5 a.m. They're overtired by the time they go to sleep, and then they wake up early in the morning and they just can't relax back down because they still want to be sleeping, but they're so tired and their sleep pressure that time of day is lower that they really, really struggle. So that's another great question that you want to be asking your daycare when you're starting out is when do you go down to 1 nap and what are the options with that? In general, if you're having trouble with daycare, you want to start asking more questions and being a detective to figure out what exactly is happening. Okay, so your little one's only taking 30-minute naps. Tell me more about that. What time did that nap start? When did they wake up from the nap before that? When did they get food? How much did they eat? What were the conditions when that happened? And so you can piece together a really good picture of what's happening and then be able to apply some of these things I've talked to you today about to figure out what the root cause is and address that. That's all we have for today. Don't forget to hit subscribe to never miss another baby sleep tip.